Hello everyone, my name is Arthur, and you have no idea how psyched I am to share this video with you. About 2 months ago, YouTube algorithm did me a great favor and showed me this video. I was immediately hooked because the editing, the production, and the pacing of that video were all great, a great standard to follow. And I said to myself, these guys know what they're doing. For real, congratulations to the Mystic Arts team and everyone involved. I'm catching up with their content and enjoying every single video of their library. Do you believe in destiny and cosmic forces? I kinda do, because finding this channel had such perfect timing. Because my brother and I have been thinking of ways to create more meaningful content, put ourselves out there, engage with other creators, and of course, produce more videos. So I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did. Daði and I will talk about the Broadsheet, Mystic Arts monthly magazine. And we'll speak about the lore and the origin of Blackguard, the capital of the Atroxian Republic. This is the setting he created and where many of his sessions and games have taken place. Enjoy! Well, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about Broadsheet, the magazine.
Hi, my name is Daði. I'm a professional writer and director, and I've been DMing for a little bit over a decade. And I've been publishing this monthly magazine called the Broadsheet, which is a 5th edition companion for Dungeon Masters in my setting, Blackguard, which is kind of an industrialized flintlock fantasy metropolis. And includes adventures, setting guidance, and player options in every issue.
Amazing. I read some of the issues and you have Atroxia as the setting.
Yeah.
Did you come up with that yourself?
Yeah, I've been running an Atroxia since, probably since the very beginning. I think my first campaign was set there in a sort of earlier version of it. But over time, we've played so many campaigns that they have really defined the history and the shape of that entire setting, and that's now sort of been canonized through their adventures and through the Broadsheet. So the history of, all the lore and stuff that's in there, a lot of that is defined by players as they've been playing through it.
And is it a creation of your own? Did you come up with everything? The cities, the names, the NPCs, everything?
Yeah, it's my campaign setting that I've been running in this whole time. So it's all my nonsense, but I have collaborators. My friend Banknotes is I think we call him like a designer, lead designer or something like that. He takes care of helping make sure he does all the balancing and stuff like that. And he writes for the adventures and collaborates with me on that for the Broadsheet. But all of that is us working off of campaigns that we've already run in this setting that I created.
That's very good to hear. And I also saw that you're including fire weapons in the setting, and they are kind of powerful. What can you say about that?
I've always been rubbing up against the idea of like firearms in D&D. I really like the idea of that sort of Lewis and Clark or cowboys in D&D and that kind of thing. I think it speaks to the industrialized fantasy of it. The idea that this nation is sort of leaving magic behind, and that comes in the way of printing presses and motor vehicles and in firearms. And we thought a lot about, and I thought a lot about, like how to make that feel special in 5th edition. And to me, I decided that they do a lot of damage. They do 2 dice of damage, which is a whole bunch. But then it also requires like an action to reload, especially at early levels. So it balances a little, but they are still incredibly powerful because I never understood if they're any less powerful than that. I never understood why the transition would have happened away from longbows and crossbows. Like for me, in order to believe in it, I kind of needed them to do more damage. And then I go, oh, I get why a whole nation would leave behind this other weapon. And in the way it's in the DMG, I think like a rifle in DMG does, or in the player's handbook now, does like a D12 of damage.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so it's like 1 damage more than a heavy crossbow, and that doesn't click, track.
Right? No, I get it. I read in the magazine that you mentioned that weapons are not magical. They are crafted, not exactly. They are not using arcane components, and they are not magical. So I agree with you completely. I think that if we're going to introduce weapons in a TTRPG, they should be kind of fearsome, do more damage than traditional mediums or weapons, and that actually puts them in a different bracket. And yeah. I agree with everything you said.
100%. And I think it's also just fun to sort of counterbalance these things, because the way I tend to think about it is that they're not only are they not magical, they're sort of the opposite. Technology, at least in my campaign setting, especially on my table, technology is contrary to magic. It doesn't like magic. They don't play along. And then the classic question I get asked is like, well, how come things don't intermingle? Like, you have this one setting and they have guns, but then I have other nations in my setting and they don't. And for me, that's where magic items come in. And those nations have an easier access to magic items or magic weapons, whereas Atroxia less so. And that's where the difference comes in. So for instance, we had a character in our home game, and she had started the campaign with firearms and was a ranger and made a whole bunch of use of firearms. And then she got a mithril longsword that did like lightning damage. So that sword does like an extra 2d6 damage when she stabs someone with it, because it's a good, powerful magic sword. Turns out at that point she's like, well, I'm probably not going to use the firearms as much because now I've got this awesome magic sword. And to me, that's how those things balance. Like, that's how the old world of my setting would treat things. They'd be like, well, why have a gun when you can have a mithril longsword or whatever?
I think that's a great way to see it and to kind of balance the existence of both things, magic and guns, in the setting. That's really good.
Now, you do your own magazine. You are you working with collaborators as well, or like how does that work for you?
We usually have monthly collaborations from 2 to 3, and we draw a lot of maps. So what I like to do is, if I see another cartographer that has a nice piece that I like, we also write the adventures for our maps. So I feature the map of another creator and we write an adventure for it, or a small one shot.
Oh, you use them as like seeds. You like jump off from there. Yeah, that's right. That's cool. Yeah,
that's right.
I do that all the time when I'm prepping at home. I'll go look at some map and I'll think about what is in here. And yeah, it's a really fun way to make things.
Yeah, and you can do it the other way around. You can also come up with an idea, and then since we draw the maps, we have an idea clear in our minds, and we draw about what we want to tell, the story that we want to tell.
Yeah, I did. I also just with monsters, I have a lot of fun designing monsters. So a lot of the times I'll start with like the idea of, I want to do this kind of monster. What does that mean for what kind of adventure would they fit in? What are they up to and stuff like that. So, anything can come first. It's just where the inspiration comes, I think.
That's right. I actually like to, when I look at a monster that I like or an illustration that I like, sometimes the monster is enough to gather fuel to write an entire adventure. And you can come up with a dungeon with the characteristics and special rooms or stuff based off the illustration, because sometimes art is very powerful. And speaking about art, I really like the direction that you're taking with the broadsheet. I think everything blends very well, and you're combining different artists in such a way that makes the magazine feel alive. What can you tell us about Anna Birna, Devilly Ride, and I'm really impressed when I saw, I don't know if I'm going to pronounce it correctly, Brinrun Birda?
Yeah.
Yeah? I think her art is amazing, very powerful to the eye. What can you tell us about that? Because she's coming up with custom pieces for your setting, right?
Yeah. So she's a concept artist by trade. We worked together in video games. We both worked on a game called Echoes of the End. That I was the writer and director on, one of the writers and the cinematics director, and she did the concept art. And a lot of that process was just talking to her, because she would draw all kinds of pieces, and then we'd sort of work from there. So she's really used to having to work fast, which is essential for what we do, because she does, I think, 10 pieces for us a month, and it's a lot.
Yeah, and some of them are very detailed.
Yeah. So she's doing, she'll use Blender or photo bashing or all kinds of things to get there quick, so that she can give it to me for feedback. And then she'll render what she has to render. And then sometimes she'll leave in a little bit of the other stuff that she thinks she can get away with, because it's, far off in the background or one of those things. And then she can sort of get the quality bar that we need to meet in the time that we have. So she's very used to drawing my sentences and trying to make them make sense. And when we were starting out, we spent a month before we started. We had her on just doing looks, like, what does this look like? can you draw just there's like a palace in the middle of Blackguard called the Obsidian Palace. It's huge. And I was like, I have no idea what it looks like. I don't think we can get started before we figure that out. So she started drawing that just in a vacuum. Same with the people. I was like, I'm thinking like 18th, 19th, 20th century. She was like, you just said 3 centuries. And I'm like, right. So that's the scope that I want you to play with. But also don't be afraid to mix in a little bit of fantasy elements or whatever. And then she starts like playing around in that space and drawing different kind of characters. And that's sort of where we find the look. It's a whole process.
That's very good. And I actually noticed that in the last issue, when you where you include the Return of the Vermin King, the adventure.
Yeah.
I believe that at the end you talk about some of the races included in the setting.
Yeah.
And I saw that some of the illustration pieces selected for that section of the magazine are just like the sketch, black and white.
Yeah.
And I love that because it's also part of the process, and it's good to see how the small sketch can evolve into the whole illustration with colors and stuff. I really like that.
Yeah, we included just the concept art because she did a bunch. I was like, I have no idea what any of this is going to look like. So she did a bunch, and many of them I was like, oh, we're definitely not doing this. We're definitely not doing that. But then when we were getting done with it, I was like, well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with, it can't be the key piece, here's a frog guy. She had one that was like smoking a cigar and laughing, and I was like, I don't think we can do this as our key illustration, but that's a fun sketch. We should put it in there.
Yeah.
So I really like the idea of just sort of mix and match and that kind of stuff. Same with Anna Berta draws for this, my girlfriend, and she'll do the badges or like there's like an item illustration. She does the credits illustrations of us at the back. There's like a sketches of us.
Yeah, the cartoons of the 4 of you. Those are great.
Yeah. And it just sort of having fun with that kind of look. And the same with the Vermin King. We got a friend of the channel, Ty Ellis, to come in and do that. And I really I love working with artists. Honestly, the best part about doing this magazine is that I get to work with artists, and I get to talk about what I think is cool, and then they get to talk about what they think is cool, and then something happens in between. And sometimes I have no notes. Like with Ty, both times I was like, you draw scary monsters. Could you draw me a scary monster and I'll make up the adventure? So doing that sort of thing that you were talking about, where you take the thing and you let someone else inspire you, and then you grab that and you run with it. I have a lot of fun with that. And then with Brimmer as well. So, we were just talking to me and Brimmer yesterday, because she's like, you never give me art briefs. When we have other artists come in, you give them art briefs, but you never give me art briefs. And I'm like, that's because out of every 10 pieces you do, 9 of them I have no notes on. You just go, here you go. And I'm like, thanks. And then occasionally I'm like, ooh, that's wrong. Can we talk about this one? And then we get into it. But that's it's, right. We're working so fast that it's tough.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of work. Your magazines are from 50 to 60 pages a piece, and it's a lot of work, but they are very, very well constructed. And speaking of which, I believe Anna Berna is the one doing the lead design and all the layout and the.
She does a lot of layout, yeah.
And I noticed that she's also sprinkling some of her art in the magazines. I believe she drew the lead box presented in the Night Train adventure.
Yeah.
That was a very fun read. I liked it. And it mentions also 2 factions, the
Mastercord and the Hidden Hand.
The Hidden Hand and the Mastercord. Yeah, what can you tell us about those factions in your world?
So for this string, because we wanted these sort of modular adventures, and we were faced with the challenge of like, somebody's going to want to grab one issue and just run it.
Right.
And that's cool. So we got to support that. But then some folks want to start a campaign based on this setting. So we got to support that. And they kind of came to exist. They were created for the magazine because we were trying to solve that problem. We basically needed these kind of Team Rocket from Pokemon style factions that we could let ourselves just sort of show up and be like, hey, we're part of the evil guys, and they get to do their thing. So what we came up with is the idea that there's like a secret war going on between these 2 nations, the Republic and the Confederacy, and both of them are they have these secret spies that they send out to go mess with each other and get up to stuff. And that's where the Night Train starts, by introducing one agent from each of those factions. And next issue, the one coming out at the end of this month, is the next step in that sort of major storyline where those factions come back in. But they feature very little in the rest of the modules that we've done so far, but we will make references to them or use them in the borough. So there's like an adventure is that chapter 1, chapter 2 is always the borough, which is a part of the city. And we put little adventure hooks in there, and it's good for us to have these kind of factions and stuff, so we can go, hey, if you're running a campaign, here's a bit that you can take and make something yourself. Here's the factions or what they're up to, or something for you to play with. So in issue 5, we did an arc in the borough where it was like, you go here and you talk to these people and they're going to send you here. And there's no maps or monsters specifically for it, but there's like guidance on how you could do that. I'd feel bad if it was just that in the magazine, so we also include always a full one-shot module.
And what can you say about the rest? I mean, the entirety of the world, are the factions present everywhere, or just in a certain town or city?
The Hidden Hand and the Master Cord?
Yeah.
I think they're mostly doing stuff in Blackguard. I think that's sort of where we're going to limit them to. But they work for these other nations. So there's the Republic they share a continent, and the Republic is to the north, the Union is to the south, the Confederate Union. And that's a part of a whole wider world. And, if I'm lucky enough to get to do this for 10 years, I'm certain we'll be doing different magazines for different cities or different settings.
Right.
But I think these two just sort of belong in Blackguard.
All right. And I also noticed that some of the maps are humongous. What can you tell me about the cartography used in your magazines?
I do these maps myself. I do some of them in Photoshop and then some of them in Incarnate. And whatever I do in Incarnate, I often bring into Photoshop to sort of do a little bit more work on. They're a lot of fun. I really like drawing maps. I find it therapeutic. Like if you're talking about the city maps and the borough maps and stuff like that.
Yes, the city maps with a lot of buildings, those are made by you in Incarnate.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
It's just, I put on a TV show. It's very rare now that I'm doing this YouTube thing that I get to go put on a TV show and turn off my brain and just play with brushes. So having to do that once a month, having to carve out time to go make a map, I think it's one of the best things I get to do, because it's like painting minis. Like I don't get to paint minis that often, but when I do, I get to completely shut off and just relax.
That's very nice. I believe it's in the second magazine, the Knowlton State, where there is a black and white map of an abandoned house. And you have a very nice colored, illustrated sections of each of the rooms. I really like that. What can you tell me about that adventure?
I've been wanting for ages. This was part of why I wanted to start this, was to do the Knowlton Estate. And it maybe seems weird, because I think the Knowlton Estate is maybe our most normal adventure. A lot of them are sort of weirdly structured. But the Knowlton Estate is just like a haunted house. It's like Death House from Curse of Strahd, or that sort of classic trope. But I've been wanting to for ages to kind of crack the code of dungeons, because I've been running a lot of 5e, like official modules. And what happens is I'll open them up and they'll say, this page, here's what the module is. This page has a map, and then you flip, and then every single room is described on the next 10 pages, and it's just walls of text. And you end up having to go back and forth all the time. And I was thinking, how can I make it so that you don't have to flip back and forth? That you where the room is in context on each spread. So you open it up, if you got like a laptop screen or a computer screen, you can have both pages up and you know what you're looking at. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to get the black and white sort of Dyson logo style that's made in Dungeon Scroll, get that map up and have that be on every page so that you always see the whole house. And then get the color map here so that you see all the different parts of the room. And then the rest of the spread gets to explain where you are, where you
area
can
descriptions
go.
Of that specific area, section of the map. Yeah, I really like that layout. It's very straightforward. And like you said, it doesn't force you to all that back and forth, going back to see the whole illustration of the map because you don't understand what's going on with that area description. Yeah, it was pretty good. Same with the train presented in the first issue of your magazine.
Yeah. Exactly. Just wanting to get, we got like a train. Like, I think that's just, I went on Incarnate and I stamped a train up and then I photoshopped out the background and then I put that on and then just labeled it. And again, it's just trying to get that sort of thing of, I'm always trying to imagine that the person reading the adventure, I think it was Val from Corkboards and Curiosities that told me this, that when you're reading the adventure or writing it, you have to imagine that the person reading it is stressed out because they have a game in 30 minutes. They might not have a game in 30 minutes, but they might do, or they might just be wondering, will this stress me out when I try to run it?
Correct.
So the whole adventure, I'm always trying to just sort of go, relax. Here's the map. Here's all the areas. I've got headlines. I've got headers, bold, italic. Look, it's all here.
Yeah, it's very well presented. Yeah, and it eases out all that direction that the game master sometimes has to do. And yes, you sit down and you have the players in front of you, and sometimes it is a little bit overwhelming to have all that information in different pages, but you can go little by little with a presentation like this. Yeah,
exactly. I have a beef with like area numbers. So I have a hard time with area 3, area 4. I'm like, if we can just name the areas, then I know what they are. Like this is in the alternate state, this is Constance's wing. And in there you can find a study and a bedroom and a jewelry cabinet or whatever. Instead of going, this is area 7. And that is Constance's wing.
That is right. I think we do both. We have like the number label on the map, but then that area has a specific name. But I like what you're saying. It is like we were saying about the illustration. Sometimes the area, the name of an area is enough for you to have like a bigger picture of what it is.
Yeah. And sometimes like we don't have time to do all the pretty maps for everything. So sometimes we just have the black and white maps. And then we're definitely going to be naming them as something as evocative as we can. There's a bit in issue 4 where there's like a huge abyss, like a hole. And so we're just going to call this the abyss. And then there's a circular map of a hole and platforms around it. Just sort of, I'm always trying to like pitch the adventure, if that makes sense. Like,
I think that the section you're speaking of is the adventure Ruins of Brass, right?
Yeah. Wow, you've done your homework. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I read them all. I really had a lot of fun reading them. And
awesome.
I had a lot of fun. I mean, like I said, we do a magazine ourselves, and it was very fun for me to see the same product in the eyes of another, and how you guys present your information and everything. I really liked it. Which has been your favorite issue out of the 5 that you have already published?
God, that's cruel.
That's a hard question. Sorry about that, but yeah.
I don't know. So I really liked the first issue. I liked the Night Train. I think it's probably our best adventure.
Yeah, I think that's my favorite one. And it's not because it was the first. I just think it's very original.
Yes. Like you get the countdown, you're on the train, you got to go somewhere. Things are going to get intense in between now and then. I think that premise is really good.
Yeah.
But I think once we started doing player options, I started liking the issues more and more. So like once we started having subclasses or species and that kind of stuff, I think I'm happier with the way they look and the sort of value that they offer. But the Night Train has a soft place in my heart. And also I got to work on that adventure for 2 months, whereas a lot of the other ones, I just have the 1 month, and it makes a world of difference.
Yeah, I also liked in the first issue with the Night Train adventure that both factions are presented, and I liked the small text box that says, it is certain that something like violence is going to happen. The question is who's going to draw the first blood. I think that it was something like that. I really liked that. What were your inspirations to create this world, this setting, the concept of the buildings? Because it looks like a version of, I don't know, New York in the 1920s, fused with fantasy and humanoid animals. What were your inspirations?
I watch a lot of political television. I watch a lot of West Wing, Yes Minister, Sandbaggers, that sort of intrigue television, and I have a great time with that stuff. Game of Thrones. I love the politics on Game of Thrones.
Political intrigue at its best.
Yeah. And then I do a lot of I read Wikipedia a lot, and I'll read Wikipedia articles on the Cold War or the 18th century. I watched Sharp. So these kind of things all kind of come together. I've always had a fascination with the American Revolutionary War. I loved Hamilton. So I think that sort of that look, meeting Cold War politics, I think is where I was trying to land, because the firearms were kind of an accident, and they sort of forced us into the industrialized look, because one of my players back in the day, back before there were firearms in my setting, played a gunslinger. So, and then that party, the one with the gunslinger, conquered this empire. What was the Atroxian Empire later became the Atroxian Republic. And that was 100 years ago. And then I did a 100-year time skip, and I'm like, surely the people in that party who had that gunslinger on their side, and that gunslinger was really powerful, surely they would have put value on that. And they would have been like, we need to pursue this further. And then I go, what does that mean? And that's when I start digging around for whether it's revolutionary America or colonial England. And there are so many bad guys that existed in history that were a part of all these things. You know, you go look at the East India Trading Company or all of those, human villains that you can put in a fantasy setting. Because I always have a difficult time with like all there's a thing in fantasy where it's like the monsters are, there's a dragon, that's evil. And then there's a good human king who is going to help the players. And I roll my eyes at that. I'm like, if that's the case, why are we here?
Yeah.
Why are the players here? So I liked Warhammer Fantasy. Like the human faction there is evil, and the goblins are evil, and the orcs are evil, and it's all grimdark. And I'm like, okay, so let's do, what is colonial England, imperial England? Let's make them be bad. Let's make them do bad things. And then eventually we're playing there. And that means having to imagine the people who live there complexly. And a lot of those people don't like what their government is doing. They don't like, what's going on. And as soon as you go down that route, you're starting to think about modern politics or whatever's happening or anywhere else. And then I feel like we're in potent territory, because then these sort of feelings the players have they're like, oh, fuck those guys, you know what I mean? They get really mad about this particular kind of wickedness, and I think there's juice in that, and I wanna get it.
You wanna squeeze it?
Yeah, so,
exactly. With everything that you've said, who are the characters? When you start a campaign in Atroxia, the characters are this revolutionary force that wants to stop all this?
Probably. I've done campaigns of all kinds there, and I always have a hard time with RPG systems that tell you what you're playing. There are certain things that I want to leave blank, but I've played adventures where the player characters are special forces and they're working for Atroxia, and they don't care. Like they're doing their duty for, and they're basically Starship Troopers. Like it's almost
thing. Okay.
Yeah, and the players are like, man, we're playing dickheads, but the characters don't think that way. But I've also done ones where they are the revolutionaries. They're going to take everything down. The one I'm playing right now, which is sort of my long-running game, has people of all stripes in it, and one party member is like pro-government, and another party member is like burn it all to the ground, and then in between those there's a whole spectrum. And I love it when they start arguing about fake politics. They're like, we can't trust this person who's going to run for the presidency. We can't work with these people because they're going to betray us eventually. And they're trying to build up their own thing inside Atroxia while not liking what they're a part of, but also not liking the villains who oppose it. So they are neither, right? I get a lot of kick out of that.
Amazing. I love that. Yeah, I mean, the setting, how you describe it in the magazine, is so flexible that you can basically do whatever you want.
I hope so. I really hope so. Because you can also just play normal fantasy. Like the Ruins of Brass was sort of us trying to prove that you could just do a mega dungeon. Like it doesn't have to be It doesn't have to be political intrigue. If you open that up and you're like, oh, I can't, I do this in real life, I can't have this be in my table. I'm like, sweet, here's a mega dungeon. The giant has a Gatling gun. Go have fun.
Yeah, and just do it the old school way. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I noticed
100%.
also, I read that there are no coins in the setting.
Yeah.
What can you tell me about that? About the notes? Are they called notes?
Yeah, banknotes, yeah. I don't remember when this started. Oh, we did a cowboy adventure. We once a year. I've been wondering whether or not I should make a video on this, but I feel so privileged talking about it. Once a year, we go to my friend's mom's cabin, and it's got no electricity. Or sorry, it's got electricity. It's got no water. We have to go to a river to fetch our water. And we go there and we play cowboy D&D. We buy fake mustaches and cowboy hats, and we play cowboy D&D. And for some reason, I decided that they were going to have paper money. I think it was Sherlock Holmes. Do you remember the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes movies? And I saw they were carrying like paper money, but it looked white and it just had writing on it. And I was like, I think that's what their money looks like.
Is it just paper, or what is it made of in your world?
It's paper, yeah. I can show you. I made a prop. So it looks like this.
Amazing. I love it. Yeah. One banknote. Amazing.
Yeah. I got, here's a fiver, you know.
That's so cool.
This one's 10,000. They write whatever on them, and the bank approves, you know.
I bet you came up with this for the third issue of your magazine, the Bank Holiday.
Yeah. That one. We'd already made the paper currency at that point, but yeah, that was fun too. The Die Hard adventure.
Yeah, I also liked the concept that what is it? The characters are going to become the bank robbers or stop the bank robbery?
They're in the bank when it gets robbed. So they are. Okay. We wanted them to be Die Hard. So they're like in Nakatomi Plaza. Hans Gruber shows up, and then there's something going on. That one was inspired by Die Hard. And have you seen Inside Man with Denzel Washington?
Yes.
That's so in Inside Man, the plot is that small spoilers for Bank Holiday Adventure. In Inside Man, they're robbing the bank, but they're actually not taking the money. They're going in, they're grabbing a piece of paper from a safe deposit box that ties the bank owner to, I think, the Nazis or something. And we were like, let's make that be the plot. The bank robbers aren't here to rob the bank. They're here to get some piece of paper from the safe deposit box.
Amazing. So the characters are there, and then the bank robbery happens, and they're just like a third-party witness.
Yeah,
just there, and
if they want to stop the robbers, they can go do that. And we wrote that one sort of non-linearly, so the DM just has tools to kind of ratchet up the tension, like encounters that they can drop on them and stuff like that. Very good.
Very cool.
Yeah. Because the bank's run by the wizards. That I think is the funniest fact about this setting. The wizards run the banks.
Wow. Yeah. Don't trust the wizards.
No, man. They got schemes upon schemes.
All right. And I saw that issue number 5 has a small disclaimer that it was going to change a little bit in like the pacing of the magazine, or what was that? Because you mentioned that issue number 6 was going to be the continuation of something?
Oh yes. So what we did with issue number 5 is that the Burrow section is usually like just a bunch of random adventures. So if you go and read the Burrow, and you'll find that like, the owner of this bar has rats in the basement or whatever it is. And we try to have fun with that kind of just basic adventure content. But what folks liked most, the feedback we got from our community was that people liked issue 1 and the Burrow there the most, because those adventures were a story on their own. Like the Burrow adventures in issue 1 were all about this full moon clan or full moon gang, where there's like a werewolf in charge of a criminal gang. And then issue 2 and 3 and 4 didn't really do that. So when we went for issue 5, we were like, how can we do that again? And then we thought, what if it ties into next month's issue?
I get it. That's the connection.
Yeah, so if you run the Burrow in issue 5, it'll it'll key you right into the main adventure for issue 6. And we might try and do that a couple of more times going forward. But we're sort of experimenting with that a little bit and just seeing.
I think it's a good idea to connect two of the magazines together so they come as a pair.
Yeah, exactly. Because they're also coming out back to back, and then we're not doing one in May because we're gonna do a starter set for low level hex crawling in our setting. Yeah.
All right, Daði, and how about some final thoughts and what is next for the broadsheet?
I'm really excited about May, actually, because what we're going to do is we're taking on our biggest project yet, and it's going to be bigger than the broadsheets, than an issue of the broadsheet. I hesitate to say a page count, but I would be surprised if it's shorter than even the longest issue of the broadsheet. It's called Crown of the Fungal Queen. I've been making it on stream with chat for, I think, half a year at this point, and it's a sprawling hex crawl, dungeon crawl adventure. You start off in a small town, venture out into the forest, and we've created a bunch of little dungeons in the forest, and they all tie to each other. So the idea being that we're going to take the stuff we talk about on the channel, how to hex crawl, how to dungeon crawl, how to tie your plots together, how to level up asynchronously. We're going to take all of that, and we're going to put it into practice in a module that you can run from start to finish, first to fifth level. So I'm really excited about that. And the art we're getting for it is insane. I think we're commissioning a total of like 38 pieces or something. It's going to be crazy.
Wow, that's big. Amazing.
That's huge. And that's not counting the maps. So yeah, I'm really excited for it.
Amazing. Any closing thoughts?
No, thank you so much for having me. I had a look at your your issue as well, and I thought it was really fascinating. You sent me the one with all the drow in it. And I will probably end up using it because I'm running drow quite actively at this point. And the map you have here of the temple looks so good. Like is that like blood running out of it and stuff like that? Yeah. I think that's super dope. Really cool.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your time too, Daði. It was very fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think this was very fun. I hope we can do this some other time.
Oh, me too. Yeah, that would be great.
All right, Daði. Thank you very much. I'll see you in the next one.
Wave. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Follow the Mystic Arts on YouTube and Patreon. You will find links for that in the description. My name is Arthur. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.